Okay, paper 2, some hints for you. First question. The orbit of a planet is circular, the radius is such and such, calculate a circumference. So we have a formula that says C equals pi times D. So that's going to be pi times, now we know from the question that the radius is equal to that. So we're going to have to double that answer, stick it in that formula, work it out and give your answer in scientific notation, in other words standard form. So it's going to be something times 10 to a power. Question 2. A boat was valued at £35,000. It decreases by 8%. How much will it be after 4 years? So we started with 100, we've lost 8%. That takes us to 92. Change that into a decimal. Decimal to the power 4 times the starting amount to get your final answer. Question 3. Change the subject of the formula to x. Well, this question here, first thing I would do is take the a over. Second thing I would do is take the c over. And then you'll be left with x equals. Question 4. Solve the system of equations. Simultaneous equations. So I would try and get these numbers here in front of the y, the 2 and the 3, I'll try and get them the same. So I would be tempted to multiply the top by 3 and the bottom by 2. Now remember, when you multiply the top by 3, you have to multiply all of it by 3. Similarly for the bottom, then because you've got 6 and 6 and are both positive, we have to do a big subtraction. That'll tell us how many y's we've got and how much a y is worth, and then substituting that back into one of these equations, that'll tell us how much x is worth. If we go to question 5, a child's toy is in the shape of a hemisphere, that's half a sphere, with a cone on the top shown. It's 10 centimetres wide and it's 16 centimetres high. All that information is on the diagram there. Calculate the volume of the toy. So we have a cone plus a hemisphere. Let me draw that a bit better. So we're going to use the formulas 1/3 pi r squared h, that's for your cone, plus, because we've got half a sphere, we're going to use the 4/3 pi r cubed formula, but then we're going to have to divide that by 2. So basically that's the formula that we need. 1/3 pi r squared h plus 4/3 pi r cubed, and then divide by 2. So what information do we need? Well, for the cone, do we know the distance across there? Yep, we can get that from the question, it's 5. Do we know its height? Well, looking at it, not straight away. However, we do know that the sphere, or the hemisphere, is also 5 tall as it is 5 wide. So if that part there is 5 for the sphere, then that means the cone, this distance here, must be 11. So that tells us that we've got 5 for here, 11 for here, and do we know the radius for the hemisphere? Yep, we've already said it's 5. So we've now got enough information to do it. Just remember, you have to answer to 2 significant figures. Question 6. The diagram shows the base of a loudspeaker stand, which is shaped of a circle. Oops, sorry, let me just move that across. The centre is O, EF is a chord, and so on. We need to calculate the width of the stand. So we need to calculate this distance here. Now if we know that E to F is 18, which we do, because we're told that in the question, we're also told, if I slide that across, that the radius of the circle is 15, then we know that distance there is 15. So if I make a little right angle triangle in here, then that's going to allow us to work out this distance. We know that this is also a radius of the circle, so we know that is also 15. So once we've worked out where I've put that green dot and then the 15, add them together, that's going to give you the width of the stand. Question 7. Okay, there are 3 mooring points in the Lake Sorling. Bearing of the first one is 74. From C, the bearing of B is 310. Okay, so the angle right round here to that line is 310. We have to calculate the size of angle ABC. So what other information do we have, or can we put on? Right, because that angle is 310, then we know this little angle in here is going to be 50. If we drop a south line from B, then because of Z angles, then that angle in there is also going to be 50. I'll write that in a slightly different colour so you can see it. That angle there is also going to be 50. And again, because of another Z angle, then it means this angle here is going to be 74. So we know that one's 50, we know that one's 74, therefore we can work out that this one here is 124 degrees. Let me tidy up that diagram for the next one. Okay, we know this angle in here is 124, we've just worked that out. Question tells us that B is 230 from A, so we know that size there is 230, and we know it's 110 from C. We are asked to find the distance from A to C, so we are asked to find this distance across here. Okay, when we have that situation where we have that side and the angle between them, then that's a giveaway that it's going to be a cosine rule question. So it's A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A, and that's for part B. So just stick those numbers into that formula. Question 8, our algebraic fractions. Well, we can do one of your good old favourite kiss and smile methods. Okay, only thing you need to remember here is that they've got a takeaway sign between them, so just be careful with the signs. When you do the 3 times the x minus 2, that isn't going to be a problem. But remember, it's minus 1 times x add 1 for the top. So just be careful. Question 9. Set of scales is a circular dial. The pointer is 9 centimetres long. Okay, so we know that this here is 9. The tip of the pointer moves through an arc of 2 centimetres for each 100 grams. A parcel is placed on the scales, the pointer moves through an angle of 284. Calculate the weight of the parcel. So what we really need to know is how much is that distance there. In other words, how much is that arc? Now we've got a formula for the arc. It's the angle over 360 times pi times the diameter. Now if we know that it's 9 for the radius, then we know it's 18 for the diameter. Working that out gives us the length of the arc that the pointers move through. We know from the question that every 2 centimetres is 100 grams. So dividing that number by 2 and then timesing it by 100, that'll tell you the weight of the parcel. Now question 10. How many diagonals a polygon of side 7 have? Well, you've got a formula that says D, the diagonals, is equal to a half of n times n minus 3. So basically, the first question, you've got to put 7 into that formula. So you're going to have D is equal to 1/2 of 7 times 7 take away 3. Okay, whatever that comes out to be. Second question says to you that the polygon has 65 diagonals. So for that, that means that you have to put 65 in where D is. So you're going to have a half n n take away 3 equals 65. Now if you get rid of the half by multiplying everything by 2, and then get rid of the brackets, and then bring everything over to the left hand side, so that side is 0, you should get the formula that what it says. And then part C, hence find the number of sides of the polygon. What you have to do for that is you have to take this formula, whether you can do the first part or not, take this formula, n squared minus 3n minus 130 equals 0, and solve it. So how do we do that? We factorise, and then we get n equals, and n equals from the little brackets. Remember, you might have to discount one or two of the answers. Question 11. You have this big wheel called the big I. Emma apparently goes on it. And the formula is given by that there. Negative 31 cos t add 33. Okay, calculate Emma's height above the ground 20 seconds after the start. So a wee bit like the last question, we just need to put 20 into that formula. So if you put 20 in the formula, you get the first answer. Part B, when will the height first reach 60 metres? So that now means that you now put 60 in where there's h. So basically you have a little formula which says, let me write it in a colour you can see, negative 31 cos t plus 33 is equal to 60. So if you solve that equation by taking the 33 over, by taking the negative 31 over, doing your all sine tan cos, and that should give you your answer. When will she be next at a height of 60? That's where you have your second tick. Okay, you're going to have two ticks in this first question up here. The first answer is for part B. The second answer from the second tick is part C. And then lastly, number 12. In the triangle ABC, gives you the various sizes, BC is 8, so on and so on and so on. First question, write down an expression for the length of AQ. Okay, now because M is the midpoint it says, then that means that this size here is 3 and this part here is 3. So we have to write down an expression for AQ. AQ is all of this distance, so that's the 3 and then the x. So the distance for AQ is going to be 3 add x. So we'll get that to get started. Part B, and then you have to show that the length of PQ is. So we're going to find the length of PQ. So it's a similar triangles question. So let me draw what the triangles look like. You've got the little triangle and the big triangle. Now this side on the big triangle is 6. This side on the little triangle is x add 3. This side on the big triangle is 8. And this side on the little triangle is, that's what we're trying to find. So let's call that y. So if you set up your similar triangle, set up the ratios, x add 3 over 6 equals y over 8, and then go through your